Good evening and welcome back to another episode of The Longing. Today we're going to be continuing to read Homer's Iliad, so let's just get on with that. Also, it is a bit late in the day, so there we go. Yet come it will, the day decreed by fates, how my heart trembles while my tongue relates, the day when thou imperial Troy must bend, and see thy warriors fall, thy glory's end. And yet no dire presage so wounds my mind, my mother's death, the ruin of my kind. Not Priam's hoary hairs defiled with gore, not all my brothers gasping on the shore. As thine Andromach, thy griefs I dread, I see thee trembling, weeping, captive led. In Argive looms our battles to design, and woes of which so large a part was thine, to bear the victor's hard commands, or bring the weight of waters from Hyperia's spring. There while you groan beneath the load of life, they cry, behold the mighty Hector's wife. Some haughty Greek who lives thy fears to see, embitters all thy woes by naming me. The thoughts of glory past and present shame, 1,000 griefs shall waken at the name. May I lie cold before that dreadful day, pressed with a load of monumental clay. Thy Hector, wrapped in everlasting sleep, shall neither hear thee sigh nor see thee weep. Thus having spoke, the illustrious chief of Troy stretched his fond arms to clasp the lovely boy. The babe clung crying to his nurse's breast, scared at the dazzling helm and nodding crest. With secret pleasure each fond parent smiled, and Hector hasted to relieve his child. The glittering terrors from his brows unbound, and placed the beaming helmet on the ground. Then kissed the child, and lifting high in air, thus to the gods preferred a father's prayer. O thou whose glory fills the ethereal throne, and all ye deathless powers protect my son, grant him like me to purchase just renown, to guard the Trojans, to defend the crown, against his country's foes the war to wage, and rise the Hector of the future age. So when triumphant from successful toils, of heroes slain he bears the reeking spoils, whole hosts may hail him with deserved acclaim, and say this chief transcends his father's fame. While pleased amidst the general shouts of Troy, his mother's conscious heart o'erflows with joy. He spoke, and fondly gazing on her charms, restored the pleasing burden to her arms. Soft on her fragrant breast the babe she laid, hushed to repose, and with a smile surveyed. The troubled pleasure soon chastised by fear, she mingled with a smile a tender tear. The softened chief with kind compassion viewed, and dried the falling drops, and thus pursued. Andromach, my soul's far better part, why with untimely sorrows heaves thy heart? No hostile hand can antedate my doom, till fate condemns me to the silent tomb. Fixed is the term to all the race of earth, and such the hard condition of our birth. No force can then resist, no flight can save, all sink alike, the fearful and the brave. No more but hasten to thy tasks at home, there guide the spindle and direct the loom. Me glory summons to the martial scene, the field of combat in the sphere of men. Where heroes war the foremost place I claim, the first in danger as the first in fame. Thus having said, the glorious chief resumes his towery helmet black with shading plumes. His princess parts with a prophetic sigh, unwilling parts, and oft reverts her eye. That streamed at every look, then moving slow, sought her own palace and indulged her woe. There, while her tears deplored the godlike man, through all her train the soft infection ran. The pious maids their mingled sorrows shed, and mourn the living Hector as the dead. But now no longer deaf to honour's call, forth issues Paris from the palace wall. In brazen arms that cast a gleamy ray, swift through the town the warrior bends his way. The wanton courser thus reigns unbound, 176, breaks from his stall and beats the trembling ground. Pampered and proud he seeks the wonted tides, and laves in height of blood his shining sides. His head now freed he tosses to the skies, his mane dishevelled o'er his shoulders flies. He snuffs the females in the distant plain, and springs exulting to his fields again. With equal triumph, sprightly, bold, and gay, in arms refulgent as the god of day. The son of Priam, glorying in his might, rushed forth with Hector to the fields of fight. And now the warriors passing on the way, the graceful Paris first excused his stay. To whom the noble Hector thus replied, O chief in blood, and now in arms allied, thy power in war with justice none contest, known is thy courage and thy strength confessed. What pity sloth should seize a soul so brave, or godlike Paris live a woman's slave? My heart weeps blood at what the Trojans say, and hopes thy deed shall wipe the stain away. Haste then in all their glorious labours share, for much they suffer for thy sake in war. These ills shall cease whene'er by Jove's decree we crown the bull to heaven and liberty. While the proud foe his frustrate triumphs mourns, and Greece indignant through her seas returns. Bows and Bowcase, Iris. Book 7. Argument. The single combat of Hector and Ajax. The battle renewing with double ardour upon the return of Hector, Minerva is under apprehensions for the Greeks. Apollo, seeing her descend from Olympus, joins her near the Scaean gate. They agree to put off the general engagement for that day, and incite Hector to challenge the Greeks to a single combat. 9 of the princes accepting the challenge, the lot is cast and falls upon Ajax. These heroes, after several attacks, are parted by the night, the Trojans calling a council. Antenor purposes the delivery of Helen to the Greeks, to which Paris will not consent, but offers to restore them her riches. Priam sends a herald to make it this offer, and to demand a truce for burning the dead, the last of which only is agreed to by Agamemnon. When the funerals are performed, the Greeks, pursuant to the advice of Nestor, erect a fortification to protect their fleet and camp, flanked with towers and defended by a ditch and palisades. Neptune testifies his jealousy at this work, but is pacified by a promise from Jupiter. Both armies pass the night in feasting, but Jupiter disheartens the Trojans with thunder, and other signs of his wrath. The 23rd day ends with the duel of Hector and Ajax. The next day the truce is agreed. Another is taken up in the funeral rites of the slain, and one more in building the fortification before the ships, so that somewhat about 3 days is employed in this book. The scene lies wholly in the field. And with that, we are actually going to come to the end of the episode.
Oh, excuse me.
Because we are 9 minutes 40-ish, just under, through this, and we were at the end of a page quite nicely. And actually the end of that page starts the next actual part of the book. Rather than just the descriptive part, that is, at least. So, With that said, I'm going to say thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you all have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon or night. No matter what time of day it is, I hope you all have a wonderful one of it. And as always, we will be back tomorrow for more of The Longing. Goodbye.